So I just sold all my cameras and lenses. First, let's come clean. I didn't sell all of my cameras. I kept the Nikon F6, the E2C, and the Sony ZV-1, and I'm also keeping my film cameras like the FM3A just behind me. But I have sold the D610, I have sold the Olympus EM1 Mark II, and I have sold the Sony A6400, and pretty much all the lenses that were attached to those three cameras. So why did I sell all of this stuff? It's a combination of a few things. The first one being choice paralysis. It's been happening for way too long. The second one is the amount of equipment that it's in use for most of the time. Sometimes I didn't even remember where some of the lenses were, which is kind of sad. And finally, one single incident. So basically, I was looking for this. This is a Nikon concept lens adapter to go from Nikon F mount to Canon EOS, so that I can mount some of my Nikon F lenses into the Nikon F6 now that I have the EF mount mounted to it. Specifically, I wanted to buy one of the Voigtlander lenses, but anyway, I was looking for this and I found two of them. Economically, it's not a really big deal. I paid probably 15 euros for each one of them, bought them both of them secondhand. But the point is that I didn't even know that I had two of them. I have reached the point that the amount of gear had been overwhelmingly big. It's things that I have collected during the years, and when I needed another one of these, I just bought another one without really checking what do I have. And to me that was a warning sign, and it was a time to check and make inventory. The inventory looked scary, so I looked at everything I had, and I really decided that I don't necessarily need it in this form. So it all went away, including the second adapter. And as usually, a couple of disclaimers. The first one is that it took me years to get all of this stuff, and most of them has been either secondhand or some sale or some offers from some stores. The second one is that if you have a ton of gear and you love to have that and you love to have that choice, that's great. It was overwhelming me. I'm not saying that what I just did is what everybody that has lots of things should do. It was the right thing to do for me at this point of time. And this is not one of those videos of why I left this brand to go to the other one, or why I left this system to go to the other one. I want to be positive, so I'm going to make a really quick review of everything I just sold on a really positive light, because all of them have positive things. Let's go to it. Because the list is way too big, we're going to rely on good old paper. Honorable mentions to Godox SL60W lights. Great budget COB lights. Then the Rode Wireless Go, an excellent wireless solution for this type of videos that you can put the microphone here and the other one is on the camera. Really good option. Then the cameras, Nikon D610, a great mid-level, old version, but still mid-level DSLR. Full frame sensor, which I like very much, the field of view, depth of field that you get with like reasonably priced lenses, with a 24 megapixel sensor and a really great grip. Not as great as the D800 that I used to have many years ago, but still a really nice handling camera. And one interesting thing is that it does have a headphone jack, even though it's definitely not a video focus camera. Olympus EM1 Mark II, absolutely fantastic stabilization and really good autofocus. Those two things for video are fantastic. Sony A6400, brilliant autofocus, APS-C Super 35 sized sensor, really good looking 4K video. And one thing that I appreciate very much is the color managed picture profiles. S-Log2 and S-Log3 can be color graded using color management in Resolve, which is what I like to do. Now for the lenses, and actually this handful of lenses, literally it's an excellent reason for anyone to go into Micro Four Thirds. Handful of really nice primes, which are really sharp, autofocus nicely, they don't break the bank, and they don't break your back. Highlights of each one of them: the Olympus 12mm f2, really well built, metal body, and the focus clutch is fantastic. Olympus 17mm f1.8, my most favorite lens ever for Micro Four Thirds. It's tiny, it gives me the field of view that I like the most for most situations, which is the 35mm equivalent, something like this, like we're shooting right now. At f1.8 is fairly fast, and it also has the focus clutch. Panasonic 25mm f1.7, probably one of the most value for money lenses for any system, and it is really the nifty 25mm for Micro Four Thirds, or one of them. Olympus 45mm f1.8. I can't believe that this size of lens, how it performs. It's a great option for portrait photography, if you're looking for the traditional field of view. Then also for Micro Four Thirds, but a different lens, the Make a 25mm t2.2. Really good, a very affordable cinema lens. I had it with the Micro Four Thirds mount, but this one does actually cover Super 35 side sensor, and it's the lens that I've been using quite a lot with the ZV-6, or I had. Now let's move from Micro Four Thirds to Sony APS-C. Let's start with the 16 to 50 PZ stabilized lens. It's a really tiny kit lens. It's underrated. It gets a lot of hate because it's not a brilliant prime, but it isn't. But for what it is, how much it costs and how small it is, it's a really practical lens. Then the Sigma Trio, really beloved, and rightfully so. 16mm f1.4. Many people would call this the YouTube lens. It's been recommended so many times in the Facebook group related to the A6400. Anytime somebody asks for what's the best lens for video, people answer this one. You know that I don't necessarily agree, but it's great is that the field of view you like. It's really sharp, it's really well built. 30mm f1.4, the least popular of all the Sigma trio of f1.4s for Sony lenses, but it's one of my favorite because of that 45mm equivalent in field of view, and still really sharp, and mine focused well. 56mm f1.4, if I have to define it in one word, sharp. Then we have the Viltrox 23mm f1.4, and the reason I have the Viltrox is because Sigma doesn't make one, and instead of the Sigma trio, many people I think that would own the Sigma Quartet. Maybe it doesn't sound so good, but the Viltrox, great option covering the 35mm equivalent with an f1.4, which is very nice on Sony APS-C. And finally, the Sony 10 to 18mm f4 stabilized lens, and this one actually my father will keep it. Then Nikon lenses, the 50mm f1.8, to me is the quintessential nifty 50 for DSLRs. I only use Nikon, but anyway, or Nikon, but that's a great lens. I actually liked it more than the 50mm f1.4. Then the Samyang 100mm f2.8 macro. It's a very affordable, full manual, and you get a really long macro lens. Then let's move to other things that I have also been selling, but they are not cameras or lenses. Zoom F1 SP. So it's the Zoom F1 with the shotgun microphone. I had just published a comparison between the F1, 2, and 3. It's a really good compact option to reuse the Zoom capsules, and it really sounds good. Atomos Ninja 5, pretty much the standard external recorder. What's more to say? and send it to Kouvola here in Finland, to a store called Atomos. This video is not sponsored by anybody, not by them. I just happen to like dealing with them. They have been really nice when having the discussions via email about the valuations and everything. I have a really easy method for me to send the stuff to them, and they were really, really fast at inspecting everything and then sending me the money, basically. If you're in Finland or in the EU, I'm going to leave the link down below to that store, because they might still have a few of these things for sale in case you would be interested. And as said, I already got what I got. And now a good and fair question is, do I have any regrets on selling all of that? Absolutely yes. You see, I love bags and I love backpacks. I have a pretty decent collection. I still would like to get 2 or 3 more backpacks that I have an eye on. And so far I had an excellent excuse, because most of them were filled with some of these lenses and some of these cameras. Now I have a bunch of empty backpacks sitting on a shelf, and I'm having a hard time justifying getting another one, but at the same time it's a bit easier to choose which one to take. I'm regretting selling my stuff because I wanted more backpacks. And of course the first question is, did I get anything in exchange after selling all that stuff? And you kind of have been looking at the answer for a while. So now, just to give you a hint, you're looking at S-Log3, 422, 10-bit footage. And we're gonna see you soon for some more content.